It's time to wake up. Okay, welcome to Patriot Lament. My name is Joshua Bennett. We'll be here for the next 3 hours talking about this, that, whatnot, and what have you. We're going to have the phone lines open all day because I'm by myself, so it'll make it easier for me. Plus, we haven't taken very many calls the last few weeks. All right, so we have a new president, and I hope all of you, like myself, Thursday night, stayed up as late as you could to enjoy those few hours of freedom when you didn't have a president. I certainly did. I loved it. Then I woke up and I had a president again. Enslaved yet again by a strong man. But you realize there was a certain time there when Obama finally was gone. We had no president. And yet, I don't know anybody that died or started any wars or had any heart attacks because of that particular event. So I want to talk about the Trump and go through some of his inauguration speech, which you can find at Target Liberty. He has the full transcript there. I didn't bother waking up to watch the inauguration. Bleh, who cares? Seriously. A bunch of rich blowhards patting each other on the back and getting excited about ruling us even more. But there are some key things in here that I think we need to maybe examine, listen to, and most importantly, be aware of. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of reading. Please listen. And if you have a comment, obviously, give it to me. The number is 907-458-8255. Okay, first off, he thinks Chief Roberts, Carter, Clinton, blah, 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 and fellow Americans, thank you, and the people of the world, because apparently the people of the world had something to do with it. We, the citizens of America, are now joining the great national effort to rebuild our country and to restore all of its promise for all of our people. Sounds good. Together, we will determine the course of America and the world for years to come. We, the citizens of America, together will determine the course of America and the world for years to come. Sounds like a great foreign policy. We will have challenges and hardships. We will get the job done. He goes on to thank Obama for the gracious aid for the transition. Today's ceremonies, however, have very special meaning because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, not from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C. and giving it back to you, the American people. So right off, we have the misnomer that we are the government. And I think we've spent plenty of time to prove that we, the serfs, are not the government. For too long, a small group of our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost. That is very true. Washington has flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Now, part of that problem is the Washington flourished from stolen goods from you and I. So we don't really want to share in that wealth. The only way to share in that wealth is to not take it from you and I in the first place. Politicians have prospered, but the jobs left and the factories closed. That's because of the economic theory of, never mind. Oh, comparative advantage. Yes, of course. They left for a reason. The establishment's protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. That's an odd statement. Their victories, speaking of the establishment, have not been your victories. Their triumphs have not been your triumphs. And while they celebrated in our nation's capital, there was little to celebrate for struggling families all across the land. That all changes starting right here and right now, because this moment is your moment. It belongs to you. It belongs to everyone gathered here today and everyone watching all across America. This is your day. This is your celebration. And this, the United States of America, is your country. What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. Yeah. January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. There's so much wrong with that. We don't want to be rulers of this nation. Just leave us alone. See, that's the thing. We don't need to rule anything but ourselves. That's what makes a strong people. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no more. Everyone is listening to you now. You came by the tens of millions to become part of a historical movement, the likes of which the world has never seen before. At the center of this movement is a crucial conviction that a nation exists to serve its citizens. That's really probably the crux of the matter right there, isn't it? Is a nation there? Does a nation exist to serve its citizens? Well, I think you'd have to go back to American founders to talk about that maybe, or Lockean theory. I'd say no, they're not there to serve you. Locke told us that the only reason people get together to join and create a society is to protect their rights as a collective, not to serve us. Because the problem with a nation serving you is the only way it can give you something back is for it to first take from you. Americans want great schools for their children. I don't know which Americans. Safe neighborhoods for their families and good jobs for themselves. These are the just and reasonable demands of a righteous public. That's pretty deep. These are the just and reasonable demands: great schools, safe neighborhoods, and good jobs. And remember, Trump is saying that all these things come from government. Good schools, safe neighborhoods, and good jobs come from the state. And we are just to demand, or these demands are just and reasonable because we're a righteous public. Guess he doesn't watch the news very much. But for too many of our citizens, a different reality exists. Mothers and children trapped in poverty in our inner cities. Rusted out factories scattered like tombstones across the landscape of our nation. An education system flush with cash, but which leaves our young and beautiful students deprived of knowledge. And the crime and gangs and drugs that have stolen too many lives and robbed our country of so much unrealized potential. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. We are one nation. This is when it gets... We are one nation, and their pain is our pain. Their dreams are our dreams. Their success will be our success. We share one heart, one home, and one glorious destiny. The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans. For many decades, we've enriched foreign industry at the expense of American industry. But we've also enriched the lives of less fortunate people with cheaper goods. He didn't say that part. We've subsidized the armies of other countries while allowing for the very sad depletion of our own military. That's a lie. While we have subsidized every other army that are our allies, which is wrong because they've stolen it from us to give to them, our military is not sadly depleted by any stretch of the imagination. Remember, we just signed the Military Authorization Act, the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, of $600 and some billion for this year. Russia spent $35 billion. I think we have the highest, I believe it's the next 10 or the next 100 countries combined, we spend more on our military. That's not depleted. So it's a lie. Every time you hear that, just think, lie. We've defended other nations' borders while we refuse to defend our own, and spent trillions of dollars overseas while America's infrastructure has fallen into disrepair and decay. Yes, we have spent trillions of dollars overseas, which I do not like. American infrastructure, that's debatable. We've made other countries rich while the wealth, strength, and confidence of our country has disappeared over the horizon. One by one, the factories shuttered and left our shores, and not even a thought about the millions upon millions of American workers left behind. Yeah, that's what business is about, making money. The wealth of our middle class has been ripped from their homes and then redistributed across the entire world. That is not true. The wealth of the middle class has been ripped from us by the state, by the government themselves. They've stolen it from us. That is where the wealth has been destroyed. China has not destroyed the middle class. Sorry, Trump, you're wrong. But all that is in the past. Now we are looking only to the future. But we will talk about the past for the rest of my administration. We assembled here today, and this is when you start thinking about guys with little black mustaches. We assembled here today are issuing a new decree to be heard in every city, in every foreign capital, and in every hall of power. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this moment on, it's going to be America first. Every decision on trade, on taxes, on immigration, on foreign affairs will be made to benefit American workers and American families. All right, so we'll have real free trade, no taxes, no foreign wars, get out of any foreign entanglements at all, and that will benefit the American workers and American families. But you know that's not what he's going to do, or nor is that what he's talking about. We must protect our borders from the ravages of other countries making our products, stealing our companies, and destroying our jobs. Protection will lead to great prosperity and strength. No, it won't. That is another economic lie. The guy is not smart. Other countries making our products has made us more wealthy because they do it cheaper. They're making the stuff that if we made it here, none of us could afford. They've not stolen our companies. Companies have left because the state, the U.S. government, has made it impossible for companies to stay here through taxation and regulation. Other countries haven't stolen them. But he's building this protectionist mindset. He's building this, USA thing. He's trying to make us patriotic. The whole world's against us. And destroying our jobs. Again, the state has destroyed our jobs. I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down. For I am he, the chosen one, the perfect. Oh, wait. No, he didn't say that part. I will never, ever let you down. He is more than human. He's perfect. America will start winning again, and winning like never before. Winning. Are we going to get trophies? I mean, Super Bowls? We will bring back our jobs. We will bring back our borders. We will bring back our wealth, and we will bring back our dreams. Dreams are individual. I don't know about you, but I do not want the state to bring back or even know my dreams or be a part of them at all. The only way the state could be a part of my dreams is if it disappeared by the time I'm done reading this. That would be my dream. We will build new roads and highways and bridges and airports and tunnels and railways all across our wonderful nation. Government jobs. Sounds great. Many people will benefit from that. The problem is, just on the small numbers he's talking to start this, he's talking about spending $1 trillion on roads, highways, bridges, airports, yada, yada. $1 trillion. Now, I know our good friend out there who likes to say, don't say trillion because people don't understand. But I think $1 trillion is a lot. Trillion. We can't afford $1 trillion. We spend $1 trillion on our foreign interventions right now, a year. Throw in another $1 trillion. Right now, the state only steals about $2.5 trillion, and they borrow another $1.5 trillion. Now they want to spend another. We don't have the money. And they'll have to get it somewhere. If he wants to get this done, he's going to have to do it somewhere. Now, maybe he's going to bring everyone back, all the troops back from all over the world, and that'll save a lot of money. But I doubt it because most of his advisors are military people. Could raise taxes. Or he could just go more debt. We will get our people off of welfare and back to work, rebuilding our country with American hands and American labor. We will follow 2 simple rules: buy American and hire American. That is stupid. Just say that you putting in you're just building a small subdivision, maybe 4 houses, and you want to buy the pipe to put in the ground to heat it and put pipe in the ground to do the sewer and water and stuff like that. Well, you could buy American and pay 5 to 10 times more for that pipe than if you buy Vietnamese or South Korea pipe. Same stuff. But they can ship it here for 5 to 10 times cheaper for you to pay for. What I'm saying is you can't have it both ways. This part sounds good. We will seek friendship and goodwill with the nations of the world. Right after he calls them thieves and liars and stealing our jobs and factories. But we will do so with the understanding that it is the right of all nations to put their own interests first. Does that include other countries? We do not seek to impose our way of life on anyone, but rather to let it shine as an example for everyone to follow. Okay, I wish that all he did was got up and said that and sat down. That would have been great. We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones, and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth. Impossible. Terrorism is an idea. It has no head to chop off. At the bedrock of our politics, this is when it gets really good. At the bedrock of our politics will be a total allegiance. Let's see. The bedrock will be a total allegiance to the United States of America and through our loyalty to our country, which we will rediscover loyalty to each other. When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice unless you're not a part of this country. Then, of course, to appease the Christians that voted for him, the Bible tells us how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. We must speak our minds openly, debate our disagreements honestly, but always pursue solidarity. One people. No individualism. We must be conform to universalism. When America is united, America is totally unstoppable. There should be no fear. We are protected, and we will always be protected. That's odd. He said earlier that we weren't protected. We will be protected by the great men and women of our military and law enforcement, and most importantly, we are protected by God. Finally, we must think big and dream even bigger. In America, we understand that a nation is only living as long as it is striving. We will no longer accept politicians who are all talk and no action. I actually prefer that. Constantly complaining but never doing anything about it. I prefer that too, actually. The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. Tell me, do you want an active government in your life? Do not let anyone tell you it cannot be done. Oh, I believe you. No challenge can match the heart and fight and spirit of America. Now, he's mixing up two things, I think, here. One, American people, individuals, and America, the state. We're not the same. We will not fail. Our country will thrive and prosper again. You can't do that by adding another $1 trillion to the debt. We stand at the birth of a new millennium. Ready to unlock the mysteries of space, to free the earth from the miseries of disease, and to harness the energies, industry, and technologies of tomorrow. A new national pride will stir our souls, lift our sights, and heal our divisions. It is time to remember that old wisdom our soldiers will never forget, that whether we are black or brown or white, we all bleed the same red blood of patriots. We all enjoy the same glorious freedoms, and we all salute the same great American flag. Whether a child is born in the urban sprawl of Detroit or the windswept plains of Nebraska, they look up at the same night sky. They fill their heart with the same dreams, and they are infused with the breath of life by the same almighty Creator. So do all Americans in every city near and far, small and large, from mountain to mountain, ocean to ocean, hear these words. You will never be ignored again. Your voice, your hopes, your dreams will define our great American destiny. And your courage and goodness and love will forever guide us along the way. Together we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. There you have it. So, you got any thoughts on the Donald? Mm-hmm. I have quite a few. Well, I'm going to take this call and I'm going to read you from someone else's first inauguration address. Hello, call you up.
Hey, this is Zach.
Hey, Zach, how's it going, man?
You're waiting for somebody to call in, so I think I might.
Go ahead.
No, I don't think Donald Trump's going to do much of anything for limiting government. He's never talked like he was going to be a small government guy. I think it's just more about, I don't even really know. I think it's more just about taking down what was running the place, hoping there's going to be a change, but there's a good possibility it's just going to be exactly the same thing. Yeah. But I would like to talk about, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I can't complain that Hillary's not in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit I voted for Donald Trump, and I go back and forth whether I should have done that or not. I mean, I'm still struggling with that. But I think that he has more potential to smash stuff than Hillary does. But what I want to get at was you brought up something about Nazism, Hitler. What's not talked about much is that communism has killed a lot more people than National Socialism ever did, as far as my understanding of it is.
Absolutely.
And what's funny is that the Communist Party came out and openly endorsed Hillary Clinton, yet there wasn't hardly any iota in the press about that. It's just like, oh, well, the Communist Party endorsed Hillary Clinton. But if the alt-right talks about issues that kind of can be seen as Nazism, as in white people standing up for white people issues, you're labeled a Nazi, and therefore you got to be shut down, and that was supposed to be taint Trump. When it comes to it, Hitler didn't kill nearly as many people as Stalin or Mao. No. But when you look at Nazism versus communism, you know, the Nazis were fighting communists, and the communists were fighting National Socialists. But in the National Socialists losing, it's not really talked about that the communists won. And what would the agenda be if the communists won? Why were they fighting to begin with? And what would be the results of communism winning? And I think it could be argued. I just listened to a pretty good presentation by Stephen Molyneux about McCarthyism. Yeah. And it's pretty good to argue that when communism won, they won everywhere. You know, China was lost to communism. Yep. Russia was already in communism. And it's pretty clear that the United States lost to communism too. Or communism won, it spread over here, and that's what was fought to use National Socialism, and we're just running under communism.
Right. No, I think you're right. And, you know, it's funny, I thought about this when, you know, at one point the mainstream media talks about, you know, Russia, Putin wants to bring back the communist dynasty, right? Well, the Communist Party endorses Hillary. Well, then they blame Russia trying to get Trump elected. How can all those things be the same? If Putin wants to bring back the communist USSR and all their domain, wouldn't he want Hillary Clinton, who is a Marxist, to win?
Yeah, no, I mean
then they're two peas in a pod, right? So why would they want Trump?
Well, I think that maybe they think. Well, I think that maybe they think that Trump might smash things up over here too, and it would lessen the impact of the United States ruling over them.
And I think he already has. Really, right. He's already punched the establishment right in the face, and I'm really excited. I don't know what he's going to replace it with or how he's going to work it, but it's really interesting if you, and I know you do read, but if you read stuff and kind of watch the way the CIA is playing against him and the way he's pushing back against the CIA, I mean, we really do see, for the first time maybe, the deep state fighting the deep state. I mean, the guy that's head of the military for Trump or whatever his name is, can't remember the name. Anyways, he wants to get rid of the CIA. He wants to totally decimate the CIA's intelligence capabilities.
Yeah, so did Kennedy.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, I think, and look at that. Trump knows that too, because look at the fact that he has not gotten rid of his own security team. I think that's fascinating. And I was reading a thing, I think it was on Target Liberty again, to where the Secret Service is pissed. They're like, we protect you. And he's like, nah, I trust my guys. You can help them. That's pretty fascinating because he knows. He knows he's pushing on the CIA, and he knows the CIA flat hates him because he's threatening their power.
Yeah. There's a pretty good thread on 4chan if everyone wants to look it up on the internet. It was this guy that supposedly, this was going back in the summer when the election was getting pretty good. This guy goes, he's FBI Anon. If you want to look up anything on that, there's a pretty good thread to read. Now, it could be totally made up and it's all anonymous, so who knows? But it seems like this FBI CIA war is going on for a long time. I think whether it's hard to say whether or not Trump's really going to do something, or if he just knew what kind of things to say to keep us kind of quelled for another 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey man, I got to go. I got to.
Hey, great call. Thanks, man.
Right on.
Good call. And this is just for fun, right? Well, I was going to read here's just a little excerpt from, I don't know if I'm going to read this. I was going to read an excerpt of Stalin's first speech when he was kind of elected to be head of the Bolshevik Party. But it's pretty funny because, he does the same thing. First, I'd like to think this and that, and naturally lays upon me and my additional duties, constantly my additional responsibilities. We will be great. Congratulate you on the forthcoming national holiday, the day of the election. History knows no other example like it. He says that the point is not that our elections will be universal, equal, secret, and direct, although that fact is in of itself a great importance. The point is that our universal elections will be carried out as the freest elections and most democratic of any country in the world. This is Comrade Stalin. But what I want to go more back to is Hitler's first address as chancellor. And I'm not trying to equate Hitler to Trump at all as people. I'm trying to equate the national fervor of the people that vote for Trump and voted for Hitler. Not that the people that voted for Trump were Nazis. If you can't understand where I'm getting at with it, then you need to listen more. I don't know. But it's this state nationalism, the flag we all salute to. We're all Americans now. We all pledge our allegiance to. That's what I'm getting at, because that is dangerous. Maybe we could look at a speech from Mussolini, where he talks about the same thing. All for the state. Hello, caller, you're up next.
Hey, good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, well, last time I called in, I said that the literal translation for Chinese money was, I think I said silver. I was supposed to be thinking cash. And they had a square hole and usually a base metal coin, although my research shows that they started minting precious metal coins in the 1800s. And actually, for us to conduct trade with China, we actually had to mint a special coin called the trade dollar, which we used in foreign trade there. And the Chinese, to make sure it wasn't counterfeited, really? They'd hack on it so they could observe if there were any base metals inside it there.
Huh.
But yeah, you brought up money a little bit. You mentioned that we spend, upwards over $500 billion is what I've read on military,
Yep.
and you said 10 to 100 times more than the next country. We actually spent. I read in Lou Rockwell. Winston loved that site, and I think he got me started on it there. But I read where it was the next 8 countries.
The next 8, okay.
Yeah, added together, spend about as much as we do on military. But money. I mean, isn't that why most people get up in the morning at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. to get ready to go to work and do the race for the base or the trek into town there to go make some money?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a pretty important part of our lives. There's just no doubt about it. It's what angers me so much when they debase it and destroy it, because we work harder and harder for less and less.
Well, what does our Constitution say about money, sir?
Gold
and silver, doesn't it?
Yep.
And what did our founding fathers? Why did they say that?
So they couldn't debase the currency, so we wouldn't be going out and working for less.
We actually minted a nickel way back when, and it was a base metal nickel. Although before that we had silver nickels. They called them half dimes. But it just had a V on it. It didn't have the word cents. And people would gold plate those and pass them off as a $5 gold piece. It's about the size of a $5 gold piece there. So, but yeah, I've withdrawn my production, and now with Trump in there, I've spent essentially 8.5 years in retirement right now, and it's been really tough. It's been rough because I'm not doing it the way a lot of people do it when they withhold their production. They go on welfare. Well, I haven't done that. I've for an example, my rabbit production operation, I've spent $1,300 on these rabbits in a year, and I have no profit to show. It's a losing proposition, but I get to eat clean meat.
Sure.
But anyway, I didn't want to deviate too far from money. And
no, I think, well, you've seen, I'm sure you have, gold and silver just from the beginning of this year have gone up quite a tick just about every day. I know it's kind of goes down every once in a while, but I think the dollar's taking a hit. The euro is down to like 106 or $1.05 or $1.06 now. Which
I think we have to look at it in terms of what, though,
Yeah, you're right.
It's you spoke before about having Chris Murkowski on. I listened to him right before your show here, and he stated, I believe it was his last session last week there, that he talked just a little blurb about the Federal Reserve Bank and how he thought that was a necessity. But he didn't elaborate on it. He felt that they do some good and that we need to keep it and la-di-da-di-da. But I'm more of a Jacksonian, who I might add they're going to replace on the 20 with Harriet Tubman. Is what I've been. That's what I understand.
Yeah, which is a shame.
It's absolutely a shame. I mean, we fought. We had 3 wars with Great Britain, right?
Yep.
We had the Revolutionary War. We had the War of 1812, and then we had the War of 1814 that Andrew Jackson waged almost all by himself. Him and a bunch of Cajun backwoods men and fellas down the Mississippi there. So,
yep.
But anyway, Josh, I think that at the roots of liberty lie a sound monetary theory and a solid base, if you will.
Yep.
And anyway,
well, I think that is why the founding fathers demanded gold and silver. I think one of the biggest reasons was so we would not be beholden to a central bank.
That's correct.
Because now we are.
Yes.
I mean, as soon as they get their fingers in there, you're done.
The money must, the people, the common people, the populace, call it what you will, they must control the money. They must have it. You know, there's this ban on cash, and that was what I was going to try to lead up to last week, and I just got sidetracked. But the people must control the money, the cash. They must have it.
Yeah. Well, the market needs to tell us what that money is, not a state.
Well,
and guess what we'd be using, especially here in Alaska? You and I'd be trading in gold and silver.
Well, I'll certainly take gold or silver for my rabbits, you know, if somebody wants to pay me. But if I had to charge what I cannot compete with the grocery store prices, like for chicken, like rabbit's a good substitute for chicken.
Yeah.
And I can't sell these rabbits. I'd already tried and lost money big time on trying to match the price of chicken. I cannot do it.
Well, it's the same with raising chickens for
That's
eggs.
correct.
We have quite a few chickens.
$1 a piece is what I raise them for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can go down to Sam's Club and buy that 5 dozen pack for a few bucks. And,
absolutely.
But you know, I like to think that we're at least getting a good egg when we can get those eggs.
Well, they look different, don't they? They've got a darker yolk, and
they taste better.
Instead of that watery yellow-looking thing, they've got an orange yolk, and they taste. In my mind, they taste better, and there's, you know, you're probably doing yourself better. It's like my garden, you know, I can't produce potatoes what it you know, you can buy them for imported from Idaho. But,
I know. I made a pretty big potato patch a few years ago, and I was so proud. Then by the time it was all over, I was like, wow, I remember living in Idaho. You could buy 50 pounds for like $2.
Well, you know, you're talking about Trump, all right? What has he even mentioned the Federal Reserve?
I think a long time ago in the primaries, somebody asked him about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we should." He said something about auditing the Fed. Maybe that's a good idea, but I haven't seen anything about his. I'm sure he's picked a Treasury Secretary, but I know there's a big campaign to get Ron Paul to be the president of the Federal Reserve, which I think will never happen. But no, he hasn't mentioned it, which is, well, no, that's wrong. He has mentioned, he said that they, in one of the debates, he blamed the Federal Reserve for some of our monetary woes. But if he's going to spend $1 trillion on our infrastructure, who's he going to go to? The Federal Reserve. He'll have to. I mean, it's just we don't have the wealth. I mean, either that or he has to steal it from us. Or bring all the troops back and quit spending $1 trillion on the military, but he wants to build that up too. So I don't know. He can't have everything. We just, I guess, debt.
Yeah, he talks about spending $1 trillion on infrastructure. Well, where's that money coming from?
Mm-hmm.
It's all stolen.
Yeah,
so,
he'll have to borrow it from the Federal Reserve.
You know, I looked to see where I'm at. I'm at the lowest. I attempt to produce as little as possible, but I still have to produce because I have to feed myself.
Yep.
And occasionally I do make money. And I told you last year I had to pay $500 in taxes, but I've never signed up for Obamacare and never will. And that's socialist crap. They can shove it. And anyway.
Yeah, I got a big old bill because I didn't sign up for it.
Oh, really? Well, they've written into the law if you make so little money, you can make up to, I forget the percentage of the poverty level, but I didn't even meet that, so I skated by. But
I think $5,000 you don't even have to file.
Yeah, I make more than that. I make around the poverty level, which is for a single white male, it's like around 15,000, and I make just under that or so, and but, over about half that's on rental income, and then the taxes that I pay proportionately wise, it's killing me. This borough, oh God,
these guys are thieves.
They are thieves, and some of the best money I ever spent were bumper stickers that said "No borough" that I bought from Winston there. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I'll leave you with that, and have a great day.
That sounds good. You be safe, my friend, and thanks for calling.
Right on.
Bye. Yeah, borough is such a ripoff. When you listen to them talk, too, the assemblymen or whatever, they act like they're really giving us a good deal, right, for all these wonderful places we live in. Yeah, I don't want to rip the microphone out of the base here and start trashing the place, so get off the borough for a little bit. I think I can do this still. So, should read my phone. So one of our friends of the show, a friend of mine, Justin, says, tell listeners to read Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago. How do you know how to say that? I guess you'll have to call him Justin. It will scare them. I read that a long time ago. Probably need to read it again to get it back in my brain. So, now I'm reading another one. All right, here we go. Here's another address made in February of 1933. More than 14 years have passed since that ill-fated day when, blighted by promises at home and abroad, the German folk lost sight of the most valuable assets of our past and of our Reich, its honor and its freedom, and thus lost everything. Since these days of treachery, the Almighty, he invokes God, has withheld his blessing from our folk. Dissension and hatred have made their way into our midst. In the profoundest of distress, millions of the best German women and men from all walks of life watch as the unity of the nation vanishes and dissolves into the muddle of political and egotistical opinions, economic interests, and differences. The misery of our Volk, I imagine that means folk, is appalling. I don't know why they're spelling it like that. The starving millions of unemployed proletarians in industry are being followed by the impoverishment of the entire middle class and artisan professions. When this disintegration ultimately reaches the German peasants, we will be confronted by a catastrophe of unfathomable dimensions. For not only will the Reich disintegrate, but with its 2,000-year-old inheritance, which is a fascinating inheritance, as we have talked about, and we're very happy for their inheritance, otherwise we wouldn't be here, the most valuable assets of human culture, the most valuable of its assets of human culture and civilization. The warning signs of this approaching disintegration are all about us. In a single gigantic offensive of willpower and violence, the communist method of madness is attempting to poison and disrupt the folk, which is shaken and uprooted to its innermost core. Sounds familiar so far. Peasants, workers, and the I know how to say that. Must all join together to provide the building blocks. Okay. We must all join together to provide the building blocks for the new Reich. The national government will therefore regard it as its first and foremost duty to reestablish the Volksgemeinschaft, the unity of spirit and the will of our folks. It will preserve and defend the foundations upon which the power of our nations rests. It will extend its strong protecting hand over Christianity as the basis of our entire morality, and the family as the germ cell of the body of our folk and state. It will reawaken in our folk beyond the borders of rank and class, its sense of national and political unity and its resultant duties. It will establish reverence for our great past and pride in our bold traditions as the basis for the education of our German youth. It will declare a merciless war against spiritual, political, and cultural nihilism. Germany must not and will not drown in anarchistic communism. Resolved and true to our oaths, we will thus, in view of the present Reichstag's inability to support this work, ask the German folk itself to take on the task we call our own. Reich President von Hindenburg has called upon us and given us the order to use our own unity to restore the nation for the chance of recovery. Thus we now appeal to the German folk to take part in signing this deed of reconciliation. The government wants the work, and it will work. We will not fail. Oh, wait. He didn't say that. It was not this government which led the German nation into ruin for 14 years. This government wants to lead the nation to the top once more. It is determined to pay the debt of the 14 years in 4 years. But it cannot make the work of reconstruction dependent upon the approval of those who are to blame for the collapse. The Marxist parties and their fellow travelers have had 14 years to prove their prowess. The result is a heap of ruins. Now, German folks, give us 4 years and then pass judgment upon us. True to the order of the field marshal, we shall begin. May Almighty God look mercifully upon our work, lead our will on the right path, bless our wisdom, and reward us for the confidence of our new folk. We are not fighting ourselves, but we are fighting for Germany. He forgot to say, together we will make Germany strong again. Together we will make Germany wealthy again. Together we will make America proud again. And we will make Germany safe again. Oops, sorry, I messed up. And together, yes, we will make Germany great again. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Germany. All right, got to take a break. Mull that over a little bit. We'll take phone calls in the next hour. 907-458-8255. This is Patriot Lament on 660 KFAR Fairbanks.
Your voice, your station. This is KFAR Radio, Fairbanks, the heartbeat of Alaska.
And apparently some technical issues there. There's been a massive crowd on the mall, packed in shoulder to shoulder. We're also hearing that it's so packed at the rally, they're now unable to move the crowd for the formal march to the White House. In Chicago, so many people have turned out for the Women's March there that organizers have canceled their plans to march through downtown. Instead, they'll extend the ongoing rally on the city's lakefront. And also, the president now has arrived at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. He's set to speak there in about an hour.
President Donald Trump's visit to CIA headquarters is aimed at thanking the men and women of the intelligence community. But it may also be an opportunity to mend fences after he criticized spy agencies for their investigation into Russian hacking during the presidential election. More than 300 people are attending the event, which will also be attended by Kansas Republican Congressman Mike Pompeo, who has been tapped to lead the spy agency. The Senate will vote on his nomination on Monday. Mr. Trump began his first full day as president at the National Prayer Service, an interfaith service traditionally held the morning after the inauguration.
Fox's John Decker. British Prime Minister Theresa May will be at the White House next week to meet with President Trump. That meeting will be the first for Mr. Trump as president. Israel's president has congratulated President Trump on his inauguration and invited him to Jerusalem. Reuven Rivlin sent a letter today at the end of the Jewish Sabbath and thanked Trump for being a long-standing friend. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
I'm in almost every school bus and classroom. I go to school with your children. We say the Pledge of Allegiance together. You see me around the neighborhood and you tell me that I'm a pretty good kid. Well, I'm one out of every 5 children in America, and I'm struggling with hunger. This problem is closer than you think. My teacher tells me we can grow up to be whatever we want. I want to grow up to be someone who doesn't go to bed hungry. There's enough food in this country to feed everybody. Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank for ways to help. Every dollar you donate helps provide 8 meals for kids like me, quietly struggling with hunger. Together, we are Feeding America, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The search continues in Hattiesburg, Mississippi for more victims after at least 4 people were killed by an early morning tornado. The campus of William Carey University was one of the locations damaged. Linda Romack's son is a student there.
I'm just so grateful that he is okay, that he is safe, and that all of his friends are safe, and friends of our families, that they're safe. And that's the good news.
A tornado threat remains in parts of the state, and heavy rain and thunderstorms are expected. President George H.W. Bush has made more progress in his recovery from pneumonia at a Houston hospital and no longer needs a breathing tube.
The 41st president of the United States was admitted to the hospital here 1 week ago today. His spokesperson says they are not out of the woods just yet, but he says the medical team feels they're at the edge of the forest.
They're going to keep him in the ICU for the foreseeable future for observation, and we're in a take it slow kind of mode.
No indication yet on when the 92-year-old former president could be removed.
Fox's Casey Stegall. Former First Lady Barbara Bush was admitted to the same hospital Wednesday for treatment of bronchitis. Might be discharged as early as tomorrow. United Launch Alliance sending another rocket into orbit. Last night's launch, the first of the year for them.
On board the rocket, a $1.2 billion satellite that will help our military detect ballistic missile launches twice as fast as the previous generation. Newly enhanced infrared sensors and cameras on board can scan the globe and see the heat given off by a missile. The next launch for the Space Coast will be at the end of January. SpaceX is planning to launch their Falcon 9 in a return to flight here in Florida. It will be a historic one because they're going to launch it from Launch Pad 39A, which had not seen a launch since the space shuttle.
Daryl Nao with TV affiliate WOFL. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News Radio.
Subliminal mind, America. Welcome to a new kind of tension all across the alien mission. Everything isn't meant to be okay. Television dreams of tomorrow. We're not the ones I'm meant to follow. For that's enough to argue.
Exactly. We do not want to be American idiots. And to keep that from happening, we must think. Let's use our brains. We must think for ourselves. We have to be individuals. We have to rely on ourselves. America was not made great because of a fantastic government. Because the government kept the jobs here and built the infrastructure and blah, blah, blah. America was made great because they were individuals who relied on themselves and the government left them alone. That's what made America great. To make America great again, Mr. Trump, you need to cut the government by 99.9%. And then we'll get rid of the rest. That's what would make America great again. But to think that the state, a few individuals running the state, is going to make our lives better, especially with the rhetoric that they're using, it ain't gonna happen, I'm sorry to say. Make sure this is turned off. So, the Donald. I am now going... So I hope you guys pondered a little bit what we read the first hour. Welcome to Patriot Cement. Don't know if I said that. Phone number is 907-458-8255. Feel free to call in. I'll take calls all day. Well, until I have to leave. So I read through Trump's inauguration speech. And then we read through Mr. Adolph's inauguration speech. Strange. Both are trying to play on the fears of the people, ultimately to give themselves more power by promising more power to the people. Why the Worst Get to the Top by F.A. Hayek, a wonderful economist. We must now examine a belief from which many who regard the advent of totalitarianism as inevitable derive consolation, which seriously weakens the resistance of many others who would oppose it, while all their might if they fully apprehend its nature. It is the belief that the most repellent features of totalitarian regimes are due to the historical accident that they were established by groups of blackguards and thugs. Oh, this is from the book, The Road to Serfdom, which you can get on Mises.org for free. And I think you can also get the audiobook for free there, too. Surely, it is argued, if in Germany the creation of a totalitarian regime brought by the Strikers and the Killingers, the Leys, the Heinz, the Himmlers, the Heydrichs to power, this may prove the vicious nature of the German character, but not that the rise of such evil is the necessary consequence of a totalitarian system. Why should it not be possible that the same sort of system, if it be necessary to achieve important social ends, be run by decent people for the collective good of the community? We must not deceive ourselves into believing that all good people must support democratic processes or will necessarily wish to have a share in the government. Many, no doubt, would rather entrust it to someone whom they think more competent. Although this might be unwise, there is nothing bad or dishonorable in approving a dictatorship of the good. Totalitarianism, we can already hear it argued, is a powerful system alike for good and for evil, and the purpose for which it will be used depends entirely on the dictator. Those who think that it is not the system we need fear, but the danger that it might be run by bad men, might even be tempted to forestall this danger by seeing that it is established in time by good men. We got to just get more good men in there. There are strong reasons for believing that what to us appear the worst features of totalitarian systems are not accidental byproducts, but a phenomena which totalitarianism is certain to produce sooner or later. Just as the choice architect who sets out to plan economic life will soon be confronted with the alternative of either assuming dictatorial powers or abandoning his plans, so the totalitarian dictator would soon have to choose between disregard of ordinary morals and failure. It's for this reason that the unscrupulous and uninhibited are likely to be more successful in a society tending towards totalitarianism. Who does not see this has not yet grasped the full width of the gulf which separates totalitarianism from classical liberalism or libertarianism. The utter difference between the whole moral atmosphere under collectivism and the essentially individual nature of Western civilization. The moral basis, quote unquote, of collectivism has, of course, been much debated in the past. But what concerns us here is not its moral basis, but its moral result. And what he's talking about is basically what Trump was speaking of we will all do this. Their dreams are our dreams. Their wealth is our wealth. Their poor is our poor. The usual discussions of the ethical aspects of collectivism refer to the question whether collectivism is demanded by an existing moral convictions, or what moral convictions would be required if collectivism is to produce the hoped-for results. Our question, however, is what views are likely to rule it. The interaction between morals and institutions may well have the effect that the ethics produced by collectivism will altogether be different from moral notions that have led to the demand for the collectivism. While we are likely to think that since the desire for a collectivist system springs up from high moral motives, their dreams are our dreams, their poor are our poor, such a system must be breeding ground for the highest virtues. There is, in fact, no reason why any system should necessarily enhance those attitudes which serve the purpose for which it was designed. The ruling moral views will depend partly on the qualities that will lead individuals to success in a collectivist or totalitarian system, and partly on the requirements of totalitarian machinery. We must here return for a moment to the position which precedes the suppression of the democratic processes and the creation of totalitarian regime. In this stage, it is the general demand for quick and determined central government action that is the dominating element in the situation. Dissatisfaction with the slow and cumbersome course of democratic processes which make action for action's sake the goal. If that's not America, I don't know what America is. I'll read that again. In this stage, it is the general demand for quick and determined central government action that is the dominating element in the situation. Dissatisfaction with the slow and cumbersome course of democratic processes which make action for action's sake the goal. Now some meat. It is then the man or the party who seems strong and resolute enough to get things done who exercises the greatest appeal. And we will get things done. I promise you, I will not fail. That was a trumping. Strong in this sense means not merely in a numerical majority. It is the ineffectiveness of parliamentary procedure with which people are dissatisfied. What they will seek is somebody with such solid support as to inspire confidence that he will carry out whatever he wants. I will not fail. In the Central European countries, the socialist parties have familiarized the masses with political organizations of semi-military character designed to absorb as much as possible of the private life of the members. All that was wanted to give one group overwhelming power was to carry out the same principle somewhat further. to seek strength not in the assured votes of huge numbers at occasional elections, but in the absolute and unreserved support of a smaller but more thoroughly organized body. The chance of imposing a totalitarian regime on a whole people depends upon the leaders first collecting round him a group which is prepared to voluntarily submit to the totalitarian disciple or discipline which they are to impose by force upon the rest. I give you certain quotes of, and we're going to have the best people. I've got the best people. We'll have the best people. I've got the best people. The chance of imposing totalitarian regime on a whole people depends upon the leaders first collecting around him a group which is prepared to voluntarily submit, the best people. Although the socialist parties had the strength to get anything if they cared to use force, they were reluctant to do so. They had, without knowing it, set themselves a task which only the ruthless ready to disregard the barriers of accepted morals could execute. That socialism can be put into practice only by methods which most socialists disapprove is, of course, a lesson learned by many social reformers in the past. The old socialist parties were inhibited by their ideals. They did not possess the ruthlessness required for the performance of their chosen task. It is characteristic that both in Germany and in Italy, the success of fascism was preceded by the refusal of the socialist parties to take over the responsibility of government. They were unwilling to employ the methods by which they had pointed the way. Basically, what he's saying is all the socialists that were in power had to do was just put the boot down, but they were reluctant to do so because they still had a little bit of moral fortitude. They said, we don't want to murder everyone, do we? Yeah. They still hoped for the miracle of the majorities agreeing on a particular plan for the organization of the whole society. Others had already learned the lesson that in a planned society, the question can no longer be on what do a majority of the people agree, but what the largest single group of those members agree sufficiently to make unified direction of all affairs possible. Or, if no such group large enough to enforce its views exist, how it can be created and who will succeed in creating it. There are three main reasons why such a numerous and strong group with fairly homogeneous views is not likely to be formed by the best, but rather by the worst elements of any society. By our accepted moral standards, the principle on which such a group would be selected would be almost entirely negative. In the first instance, it is probably true that the higher education and intelligence of the individuals become, the more their views and tastes are differentiated, and the less likely they are to agree on a particular hierarchy of values. It is a corollary of this that we wish to find a higher degree of uniformity and similarity of outlook. We have to descend to the regions of lower moral and intellectual standards where the more primitive and common instincts and tastes prevail. This does not mean that the majority of people have low moral standards. It merely means the largest group of people whose values are very similar with the people with the low standards. It is, as it were, the lowest common denominator which unites the largest number of a numerous group. Strong enough to impose their views and values of life on all the rest, it will never be those with highly differentiated and developed tastes. It will be those who form the mass in the derogatory sense of the term, the least original and independent, who will be able to put the weight of their numbers behind their particular ideals. I might just stop there for a little. I think unfortunately, Americans have been beat down for so long. Even, we can say that the white man's been beaten down. That's true, by social media and stuff. Or not social media, but mainstream media, by government. We're told that the white man basically killed everyone, made everything worse. All white people are racist, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, the government's doing that and making other races hate white people, it's also keeping down other races. I mean, look at the way that the inner cities are working. Look at Chicago, Detroit, those places. Why are they like that? It's because of government intervention. It's not because they need more government intervention. They need less government intervention. Walter Williams is a great person to read. I'm not going to jump on anything of his right now, but if you want to understand more of that, about the inner cities and government's role in creating the devastation there, you can just Google him at any time. Which I think he finally retired. Huh. Too bad. Great guy. But the American people have been beat down for so long. We keep getting this next guy that's going to be hope and change. Bush was the guy that said, we're not going to go over there and do any more nation building. That didn't even last a year. Obama was the guy that was going to bring hope and change. He was going to close Guantanamo. He was going to do you know it all. All of it is baloney. The middle class got poorer and poorer. The poor got poorer and poorer. And there really is a certain number of folk that got richer and richer off the backs of the rest of us. And things look pretty bad. We perceive to ourselves that other countries see us as weak and poor. We're not leading the world anymore in any stretch of, we're not in education. We're not leading the world in production. I mean, really, the only thing that we lead the world in is killing people. Which some people are proud of that. I'm not. So there's a lot of agony. And we think about, the housing collapse of 07 and 08, the downturn, the economic downturn of the time. It hasn't gotten better, no matter what the previous administration told us. People are still losing their houses. They're still broke. People are still out of work. People are out of jobs. And along comes the strong man, Donald Trump, who has a pretty good, resume, if you want to call it that. He's worth $4 billion. Well, he must know what he's doing in business. He must not be economically challenged. How he got his money may be, He had some help. A little crony help, I'd say. Probably. Yeah. But the people want a strong man. Look at our country. All we heard was woe and misery. Your country's going down the tubes. It's getting worse. Blah, blah, blah. And up jumps a dude that says, hey, look at me. My life's all together. And I can do the same thing for you. I've got it down. I know everything that's wrong with this country, and I can fix it. I will fix it. Just put me in charge, give me the power, I will fix it. And that's exactly what Americans wanted to hear, much like 1933 Germany did. If you look at the Germany at that time after World War I, absolutely terrible, horrific. People are starving. Wheelbarrows of money to buy a loaf of bread. Paper money, of course. They didn't have the world currency reserve, which helps if you want to be a dictatorship. And what did he tell them? Put me in power. I will be the best. I will fix things. I will make you great again. I will make Germany a great people again. Germans were very proud people, rightfully so. Americans were very proud people, rightfully so. And we saw that pride being trampled on, or at least the thought was that. We felt like it was, and that's all you need is feelings, you know? Feelings are a good thing to go on. Emotions, we should really judge character and nations on emotion. So the emotion is we're getting our butts kicked. Our lives are horrible. Guy comes in and says, vote for me. I'll make all things better. And boom, look at it. He's there. Whether a one man can change things the way he says he will or not remain to be seen. I say, no, he can't. The best thing he can do to make America great again, I will reiterate, is to leave us alone. Donald, you want to make America great again? Get rid of taxation. Well, how will the government work? Oh, they'll figure it out. Get rid of regulation. Get rid of monopolies. Get rid of licensing. Get rid of the EPA. You want to make America great again? Get rid of the Department of Education. Get rid of the Department of Transportation. There's so many things they could just get rid of. I mean, go to the Constitution, and if you don't see the agency there, get rid of it. That would be a wonderful start. If you want to make America great again, bring our troops home from all over the world. Listen to the founding fathers that you like to quote. Listen to the father of America, the first president. Have no entangling alliances with other countries. Bring them home. But free trade with all. That includes Iran, Donald. That means don't rip up the agreement that the United States signed with Iran, the nuclear treaty. No, you want them to not be our enemies anymore. Trade with them. Make them love America by doing good things to them. When you heap coals on your enemy, they're going to hate you more. When you call them murderous thugs, they're not going to take it kindly. Trade. Open up trade. And I don't mean trade agreements with all these restrictions and then just, I don't know if you can do it legally with executive order, but if you can, just write an executive order and say, yeah, all trade agreements. Apparently, the presidents make the trade agreements. So just write an executive order that says free trade is now open. Do it. No tariffs, no regulation. You want to sell something overseas or buy something from overseas, we're not going to stop you. We're not going to charge you. We're not going to tax you. We're not going to have a tariff on them. Do it. And see how economically advantaged the people of America would be. It would be unbelievable. You want to make America great again. Get rid of the Federal Reserve. Don't audit the Fed. Get rid of it. Go in there and take their books. And tell us what happened. Where did trillions of dollars go? Where's the gold? that we supposedly own, America supposedly owns. Let us use our own means for exchange. If Fairbanks wants to use silver, let us use silver. If Anchorage wants to use gold, let them use gold. If Idaho wants to use palladium, let them use palladium. Let the means of exchange be borne out in each little county or whatever you want to call it. The smaller, the better. Let them figure out, let the market figure out with them what the greatest medium of exchange would be, what their money would be. Quit making it a universal thing that we all have to use. Kind of jumping around there. Better jump back to foreign policy. Bring the troops home. Close down the bases. I mean, he's talked a good talk about it. Like, we're paying for all these people's security and, blah, blah, blah. We pay for all their armies. Yeah, we do. So quit paying them. Pull out of NATO immediately. You want to make America great again? Get rid of that agency that makes laws against us all the time and tells us, basically forces us into treaties to obey them. The United Nations. Kick them off the soil. Or at least pull out. Okay, if they own it or whoever gave it to them, was it Rockefeller? Whatever. Get out of the United Nations. Pull out of the United Nations. Make America great. You want America first? Then quit being a part of organizations that vote against America. You want America first? Then quit being a part of NATO, where you have to pull the full brunt and bear of anything that they want to get into, any adventure they want. We pay for it. Get the troops out of Norway. I think it was Norway. Just this last week, we sent 4,000 troops to Norway. First time we've had them there since World War II. To stop the Russian aggression. Take the 4,000 tanks and troops that America sent to Poland. Bring them back. Close the base in Japan. They don't want us there. Get out of the Middle East. They definitely don't want us there. They want to boycott us and not sell us their oil? Big deal. Let Americans get their own oil right out of the ground that we have here. Now, I understand we've only have like 300 years worth of oil in America, but you know what? In 300 years, we'll use up ours. We may be able to figure something else out a little bit better than oil in 300 years. I'm going to go on a limb there, but I'm saying, yeah. If the government got out of the way, even the cars you drive, you know why they all pretty much look the same? Because of government regulations. Literally. The government tells them what they have to look like. The shapes and sizes. They've got to have this bend and this sleek, this one, this blah, blah, blah. Why does your car in 2017, if you're lucky, get 25 miles to the gallon? Because of the government. It dictates what kind of motors, engines go in each one. Trump, you want to make America great again? You want the car factories to stay here? Then take the regulations off of them. You want to make America great again? Get rid of the Davis-Bacon Act. You want to make America great again? Get rid of the Jones Act. At least Hawaii and Alaska would thank you for that. Well, and the different American or U.S. territories like Guam and those. We would thank you wholeheartedly. Start with going back to poll regulations back to the year 2006. Take your budget back to 2006. Start there. If you can't think of sweeping change, just go back a few years. I'm sure we still spent plenty of money in 2006. I'm sure we had tens of thousands of regulations in 2006. I doubt many more people's lives were saved with the additional regulations that have come into place since 2006. End the Fed. It might hurt. End the Fed. Now, immediately, I don't think he could just cut people off welfare because there's too many people totally dependent on welfare. But he sure the heck could cut people off, cut the military-industrial complex off their welfare. He could cut corporations off of their welfare. And I don't mean by taxing them more. I mean by don't give them money. They won't need it if you get rid of their taxes. If you want America to be great again, you have to let American individuals be great. Because we aren't a collective. We're not this big, unified country. We're all individuals. Some 330 million of us that call ourselves Americans. Huh. So to make America great again, you have to allow us to be individuals again. You have to allow us to fail individually. You have to allow us to succeed individually. You have to allow us to keep our sweat, blood, and tears to ourselves. To make us great is to do nothing at all to us. It's going to be a hard job. I seriously don't think he will listen to any of my ideas. Might be hard to believe, but the Trump administration has not been knocking down my door, nor have they even sent me a text. Even though apparently it's my government again. For some reason, I think if I tried to call the Donald, I wouldn't get through. Even though it is my government again. I guess what bothers me, I'm not bothered yet. What makes me a little afeared is people are turning back to wanting to see the government do great things again. That is not what we're about. That is not what our inheritance was about. We roughed the rigors of the West. We built things without government. We created things without government. That's what makes us great. That's what makes people great. And I don't mean us as collective either. I mean the individuals that did these things were great because of that. You know, if you go start a nice business, that doesn't make me great. If you go invent something awesome, that doesn't make America great. It doesn't make me great. If I want to be quote unquote great, it's up to me. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Hello there.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, hey, I haven't been listening to you much this morning. I'm trying to take advantage of this warm weather we got. So,
That is a darn good idea.
yeah, I'm having to do a little outside work, but I wanted to bring us home for a minute. I heard Lance Roberts this morning on KJNP over the coffee cup.
Yeah.
And I don't take the paper and unless it's news on the radio, I don't know what's going on in the local area really. But I guess the borough poked through a zoning ordinance that is just really going to tear us all up. Or the majority of us. He said a lot of people are going to lose their property over it. They made it where anybody can complain. From Delta, somebody can come and turn in an anonymous complaint on zoning violations, and they're looking for examples. They're really going to squat hard on them.
Wow.
That happened maybe a couple of weeks ago. But what he's talking about now that they're doing, two things, and this really disturbed me, was, let me go to the dogs first. He said something about the animal rights. They've got he called these guys that we've got down there now progressives are running the borough. Immediately my mind go, what's a progressive? They're going hard somewhere. But I used to have a little poster on my wall, showed the guy out there running like crazy. And it says, no matter how fast you're going, if you're on the wrong road, you'll never get where you need to be. That's it sounds like that we're progressively going right in the commode, man. But anyway, So on the dogs, and there's no exemptions for mushers or anything. They're going to have to be, of course, confined, and they're going to have to be have access to a certain degree, and I don't know if that's been listed yet or not, but they're going to have to be warm. We can't torture them. and let's see, under constant care of a vet. In other words, if something happens, I guess if you've got a little pound mutt, and if he needs a $5,000 operation, you got to do it.
Really?
You can't. Yep, it sounds like that one might have already been passed. But here's the one that really disturbs me. My dog stays in the house. I just got a little mutt now, and so that doesn't bother me,
Sure.
Unless they catch him when I let him out to poo. In this kind of weather, I don't always go out and hold his chain and talk to him. I figured he can do that on his own. Anyway, and back in the day, I can remember. Back in the 70s, I think I heard the borough sitting around waiting for somebody to let their dog out, and then they'd nab it. I think they were selling them back then, though, for laboratory use. But anyway, what really bothers me is he said that I am not sure how this works. But anyway, Lance is on Facebook. I never have been there. He's got a telephone number. I missed it. I got to try to, maybe it's on the Facebook. But anyway, the school has been using pornography to teach the kids sex education. Well, there's been some complaints on that, and our progressives seem to like that idea because, it's uniform. I mean, if they hit the right porn sites, well, then everybody in the United States will be sex educated in the same fashion, so that makes it normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think he said this coming Thursday something is going to happen on that from the borough. They're going to give the school district either orders, permission. I didn't catch that, but anyway, this coming Thursday is prior to your next Saturday show, and I thought, man, the least I can do is put that out there, and now I'm going to try to track it down too.
Yeah.
But pornography is maybe that's what's wrong with these guys running. Do you get to be a progressive if you get your mind twisted with pornography?
I don't know.
Is that part of the basic training? Anyway, I'm disturbed about it, and I thought I'd throw it out there in case there's a lot of other uninformed people like me listening. Maybe we can kind of, I don't know what you can do with the people we got ruling us now. I'm happy about Trump, by the way. I really consider God giving us one more chance. We got to pray for the guy, because I still think the one worlders are going to be putting all the pressure they can on him.
Well, I certainly hope he does the right thing. I do. I don't wish him ill will. Regard.
He's been mentioning it. He wanted to do a lot of those things you were listing. Pull some of the EPA's teeth and cut government and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now then, he's bucking the bureaucrats that are dug in deep, and only with God's help is he going to be able to do what he wants to do. Let's say what he said he wanted to do anyway.
Sure. Yep.
So, and at least he is an American. That's one thing I'm happy about. I'm still expecting one of these days in a few years. Obama, he was so, I don't know all those psychological terms they use on his mentality, but I'm expecting to, in just a few years, see a Time magazine cover with him with his middle finger up, saying, "You stupid fools. I never was an American anyway."
Yeah, it could happen.
He was the world's most successful terrorist. Okay, well, hey, thanks a lot. Yep. I don't know, but I do know that pornography definitely changes the brain.
Yep.
And it affects us all. The guys that are putting gasoline in your car, the mowing your lawn, everything. Once they get their mind warped, twisted, they say it actually affects the brain like cocaine. And there's a term for it that I saw on the internet. I don't remember what the term is, but it's an addiction that is pretty dramatic. But anyway, I go ahead and let you go.
All right.
Hopefully I'll be in here when you're discussing the solution. Okay. Good day
Sounds
to
good.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your program. You bet. Bye.
Well, maybe if Lance isn't listening, I'd like to know more what he was talking about with the property bill or whatever that was passed, this law. maybe Bill knows if it has something to do with surveying or property lines or lots or something like that. Bill, if you're listening, you know what this law is that he was talking about or Lance was talking about this morning. Certainly like to know more about it, but, never can be. Oh, maybe someone's calling us now. Hello, caller.
You rang?
Yes, sir.
I read the articles. I don't have them handy, but you got to see what's going on here. They're passing the code. I believe you might have more coming up Thursday night about it. The code for fines and fees on whichever violations they think is most important. Well, we know it's going to be wood smoke.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the EPA just says the borough's method is going to work, and they're coming down on us pretty hard, so now they have a law saying they can fine us for the violations and stuff. So they're just creating these laws to grab you, and it all falling into place to them. So it's just a shame that the code is the way they control everything, and I don't want to go into a long diatribe about it. You know how I feel about it. I'm for people's private property rights, and I don't like any of that intrusion, but they have you at the bank now. And just to get a loan on your bank, they will know how far within an inch from your property line where your house is and stuff, basically.
Right.
By the time you get that much accuracy and work done in the field, you might as well set the guy's property corners and get his boundary survey done at the same time. Cost you a few $100 more and you're finished with it. So what they've done basically is almost create a law. You need to get your boundary surveyed before you can figure out where your house is to get a loan from the bank.
Yep.
So right now I got a few clients wanting plot plans done to prove where their house is on a lot, holding up loans. Well, guess what? It's pretty hard to go out 40 below zero, boys. So there you go. Loans are held up and everything. So anyway, I love your show. I'm still sad about Steve being off the line, and I don't go on Facebook and all that stuff to find out news. I either read the paper or listen to the radio. So us old guys, we don't text, we don't text. We ain't going to start doing it now. So there you go. And I think that Trump's going to help people like you in business. And Davis Bacon, well, I worked unions through the years and had to, didn't want to. It brought the wages up for everybody quite a bit. But then...
Well, I don't mind the unions doing that.
Well, me either. If you join it, you're paying the wages. But you know what? When you're in a union like that, if you don't get thrown out of the hall within 6 months, you lose your benefits.
Yeah.
You don't get health or nothing. So if you're one of the good old boys or one of the women, talk them in and put them out on a job, and it happened during pipeline big time. Business agents were corrupt as heck. And you see it. The unions had so much power. I remember back at Live and Good during the pipeline. I remember one cop showing up, holding off 1,100 people from fighting over a sandwich.
Oh.
And Jesse Carr was fighting. They were all fighting against the 798 union. And 798ers were working tonight to come back in one dinner late in the evening. And the old cook shut down the restaurant, wouldn't feed them late at night, and that started it. They trashed the chow hall.
Wow.
Next day, it was almost a war. One cop stood up there. I give him credit. He held them off. The others flew in a helicopter to keep the peace. But unions, they're good and they're bad. They keep the wages up to help the people, but then the employers have to pay the higher wage, and it's just a tough situation. So it's good and it's bad, and you got to realize both. So when you're in a union, you got to have the work coming in, or they don't keep the benefits. So if we don't have the roads being built and infrastructure worked on, and private property where people can build and develop and go forward, rather they want to put property taxes on you, they want to put income tax, sales tax. They want to do all this to keep the university people wearing their polyester pants. You know what about polyester pants? They have a nice crease. They look good all year long, but they stink inside because they never clean them. That's what you have at the borough. Just look at the assembly. They're all polyester pants wearers. So I'll leave you with that and let someone else call in and bitch. Thank you,
right.
Josh.
Thanks, Bill.
Bye.
Huh. Polyester. Yeah, when I said something about the Davis-Bacon Act, I meant that pretty much more universal. Get the government out of labor, out of wage determinations, because, they, same thing with minimum wage. I think the state has no business interfering with two people one who wants to work for one and one who wants to hire the other. It's totally between them. So when you have these acts, so say you work on a Davis-Bacon job and you need 35 people. You have to pay them all the same. So there's no incentive for the employee to work harder than his fellow employee because he knows he's going to get the same thing as him anyway. So, for one, I don't like it because the government shouldn't be involved in labor because it's being involved in the market. And the other, there's many more reasons why that's wrong, but the one of the things is that it makes people disinterested, makes them lazy. It's just it's a disincentive to work. It's a disincentive to the market, and any disincentive to the free market is bad for all of us. It's the same thing with the minimum wage. It keeps people from having jobs. That's all there is to it. So when I say something about, Davis-Bacon Act or a union, my point is if you want to voluntarily be a part of a union, have at it. Nothing wrong in my mind about that. It's when the government is involved with it and the government has powers in it. When the government regulates labor. When the government chooses the winners and the losers. That's what I have a problem with. We should all have a problem with it. Because someday it might choose that you are the loser. It's like the progressives being so excited to give the president more and more and more powers. Well, what are you going to do when someone you don't like becomes president and he gets all those powers? The unintended consequences. We never think about that. Someday, you might be in the crosshairs from the same thing that you were supporting at first. Not good, not fun. But then again, that goes back to thinking, using our minds, using our brains, not letting others, being able to decipher good and evil, being able to decipher right and wrong, being able to look down and being able to look futuristically a little bit, what could become of this. Goes back to the seen and the unseen. Don't just look at the things that are seen. Try to find the unseen of a law or a situation and make your determination on that. Oop, I'm late. All right, be right back.
Well, the new Secretary of Defense, James Mattis, is at the Pentagon for his first day on the job.
Vice President Pence had sworn in the secretary. At his confirmation hearing, which yielded a 98-1 vote in his favor, Mattis spoke more severely about Russia than President Trump generally has. The lone senator to vote against the nominee was New York Democrat Kirsten Gillibrand, who cited concerns about erosion to the principle of civilian command.
Thanks, James Rosen. A massive turnout at the Women's March on Washington. Hundreds of thousands filled the parade route, forcing organizers to abandon plans to lead a formal march toward the White House. Among the speakers, actress Scarlett Johansson.
I am not by nature a particularly private person, but by profession I am extremely private. I'm not the type to divulge facts about my personal life. I am fiercely protective of my family, and I have no social media presence. But I feel that in the face of this current political climate, it is vital that we all make it our mission to get really, really personal.
Other similar marches are being held across the country. This woman in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I love the fact that there's so much diversity here, and I think this is wonderful for Charlotte. It just shows what a strong community we have.
Marches were also held in other countries around the world. Former President George H.W. Bush and his wife Barbara are both said to be improving at a Houston hospital. The 92-year-old former president is likely to remain in intensive care for a few more days because of pneumonia. His wife wife is being treated for bronchitis and could be discharged tomorrow. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's best birthday present.
When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium.
When I grow up, I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
When I grow up, I want to be a fancy backsplash.
I want to be a bike that races around the country.
When I grow up,
I want to be a bench on a forest trail. I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch. I want to be a skyscraper. I want to be.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Advocate.
Time after time, I sit and I wait for your call. I know I'm a fool, but what can I say? Whatever the price, I'll pay for you. Madam Blue, once long ago, a word from your lips and the world turned around, but somehow you've changed. You're so far away. I long for the past and dream of the days with you. Madam Blue, sweet Madam Blue, gaze at your looking glass. You're not a child anymore. Sweet Madam Blue, the future is all but past. So dressed in your jewels, you made your own rules. You conquered the world and more. Heaven's door.
Wait for it. Welcome back to Patriot Lament on 660 KFAR, Fairbanks, Alaska. My name is Joshua Bennett. Got one more hour here to talk about things. And, of course, lines are open 907-458-8255. And if you're one of those pleasured people that have the hotline, you can use that one if you want instead. That was from 1975, Styx. Their Sweet Madam Blue. I like that song. That's what we've been talking about today. Amazing America. I mean, amazing that's what we're talking about. Yeah, something like that. Anyhow. So first hour we talked about, if you hadn't been listening, was we spoke of Donald Trump's inaugural address to the nation. And then we read Adolf Hitler's inaugural address to his nation. Took a few excerpts from Stalin's address to his nation. Let's see, what else did we do? Oh, yeah. The next hour we read from Friedrich A. Hayek, who was a Nobel winner of economics, an Austrian scholar, Austrian economics, who trained under Ludwig von Mises, who we love, and I personally believe was probably one of the greatest economists of all time. He didn't necessarily start the Austrian school, but he's definitely the guy that, well, now, I don't know. He kick-started it. Of course, Rothbard gave it the real kick in the butt. But the person that advanced it more to the masses, I'd have to say, would be the good Dr. Ronald Paul. And we thank him for that. Because economics are so important. Every day, like John Galt said, you get up and you go to work and you do this every day. What's it for? To make a little money. So economics do matter to you. Whether or not you like it, it still does. So you should be interested in a little bit of economics. And I would encourage you folks, if you have not read it, to read Economics in One Lesson. I believe you can get that also at Mises.org for free. You can download it. And, of course, any of the books that we talk about, you can email us at patriotslament@gmail.com and ask for the hard copy of the book. Well, it might be a paperback, though. But an actual book with your address on it, and we'll send it to you. Sometimes I have a hard time getting them out due to my busy schedule or laziness, whichever way you want to put it. But eventually, I get them out there. Or my wife does. Oh, yeah. Yeah, when we gave away Ron Paul's book a year ago or whatever, man, there was a lot of people that asked for that. I fell behind quite rapidly. But nevertheless, we got them out. So, yeah, Economics in One Lesson. Excellent book. You can read it in a day or break it up a little bit and read it in a week. Read it in a month if you have to. But you should understand some basic economics. You are foolish to prevent yourself from doing so. I'll say that again. You're foolish to prevent yourself from understanding some economics. And correct economics. That doesn't mean you read the newspaper and then, some local Joe Blow economics guy that doesn't know jack, or, he went to Harvard and he says he's an economist. Well, if he's just speaking the language of Keynesianism you're not going to learn anything good. You need to learn some Austrian economics. It's a must. You do yourself a disservice by not understanding it, some of it. You don't have to understand the whole thing. You don't have to be a Ron Paul or a Lou Rockwell or a Stephan Kinsella type economist with it. But you should understand the basis of it. And it's really easy to understand. I think it basically comes down, I mean, if you want to really get into it, then read, if you want to be brilliant, read either Human Action by Mises or Man, Economy, and State by Murray Rothbard. Two excellent books on economics. You can even go to Mises.org and sign up for, well, you don't have to, they're not live anymore, but go through classes that they have online where you can watch them and learn about economics. You can go to Liberty Classroom. I've encouraged folks, Tom Wood's Liberty Classroom. In fact, you can go on our website and click Liberty Classroom, and it'll take you right there. You can sign up for that to learn about history and economics. Ugh, had to cough. Of course, if you've listened to the show at least once, I think that knowing history is very important. Those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. We should know history. You should understand a little bit of economics. Between the two, you can read the future. No, just kidding. Between the two, though, you can understand current objects. You can understand current trends. It'll help you understand them. You can see things, and in your mind, it'll start working. Believe me, these things will start popping out. When you just learn a little bit, they will pop into your mind as different events happen. You'll be like, aha, I understand that. I understand the bad economic calculation that is making. You'll understand why social engineering is wrong and bad. You'll understand why central government and central planning of economics is horrendous for a free people. It's horrendous. And that's what Washington, D.C. does. That's what our legislators in Juneau do. That's what these borough assemblymen do. That's what the city council does. They centrally plan your life, your economics. And understanding that and being able to see it and spot it out will help you get through life. Believe me, it will help. It'll drive you nuts because you'll understand something you never did understand before. And all of a sudden you'll see it everywhere. And all these synapses will be going ping, 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 oh, whoa, ping, 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 ping. But it'll be good. It'll benefit your life, believe me. Of course, later you might think, man, I wish I was dumb like I used to be because I didn't care about anything back then. I was just a good little serf. No, you're an American. Or you're a German. Or you're a Chinaman. You're something. You don't want to be a serf. I don't care where you're from. You want to be free. When I was... like reading or listening to the inauguration, right? If you know a little bit of history and a little bit of economics, you can dissect that inaugural speech and understand what the seen and unseen consequences could be. The seen consequences that everyone's talking about, oh yeah, that's great, blah, blah, blah. But understanding a little economics and a little history, you can see in your mind what the unintended consequences, the unseen things that will come about from the different laws they pass or the different codes or anything like that, the different procedures, the different things that they want to push, the different agendas. You'll be able to see right through them. know a little bit of economics to understand why $1 trillion to fix, quote unquote, our infrastructure by the government is horrible. Now, Bill made a good point. There are companies, like my company, and I encourage people, if the government's going to start spending money like crazy, you have to be careful on one, because the government creates bubbles. You don't want to go crazy and freak out. Because the government creates business cycles where all of a sudden the money's over here and you're like, oh boy, look at all this, it's going to last forever. So you build up your business, you build up your company, yeah. And then the government pulls it and takes it somewhere else. You're screwed. You need to understand those things. It'll help you through your life. It happened to me when and I blame the governments for it, but with the North Slope, we had several good years where things were just booming. So we grew and grew and grew. Then guess what happened last year? We went from hauling hundreds of loads one winter to Prudhoe to about 20 in 1 year. So you need to understand business cycles. We got a caller, and we need to understand the caller. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Josh. This is Jim and Kenai. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty well.
I wanted to ask you, because I forgot to ask you, did you guys get hit with that cold last week?
It got down to minus 30 in Kenai.
Mm.
That's the official temperature. We didn't see it quite that cold, but it was brisk.
Yeah. Yep.
No complaints. So
we all survived it.
Yes. Everybody made it. Flying colors that I know of. So I posted on Facebook that the pendulum swings, but that doesn't mean it ever passes through sanity. And I think, a lot of people are happy because the pendulum is swinging their way, but that doesn't mean things are actually going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Anderson, who's a speaker at the Mises Institute, he posted an article about a book called Days of Rage on Facebook, and I can put it someplace if you'd like. But it talks about the violence that the left did back during the 60s and 70s. They were bombing cities pretty regularly,
right?
And the media covered for it. The media called them, the media concentrated on, well, it was property damage. They minimized it and they covered for it. And then eventually these people who actually bombed people, got positions in universities and presidential clemency. And while they were on the run, they were covered for. They weren't dumpster diving like abortion clinic bombers. They were getting put up by lawyers groups and there's a whole lot. The article's interesting because it reviews the history of violence on the left and saying, the people on the right think, yeah, we got guns, we'll beat the heck out of Pajama Boy, because Pajama Boy is the other side, and it's like, well, that's really not what we've got. The deep state is all on the left.
Yep.
And the media is all on the left. And when a guy at a Trump rally punches somebody, the media talks about how all the Trump people are just brutes. But when the left has a riot and destroys, a few $1 million worth of stuff, that's just property damage. It's nothing too important.
Right. They got to get their, they've got to get their rage out.
There's nothing here to see. Move along.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I think the problem we have is deeper than the politics. I think people are just fundamentally broken. We don't concentrate too much on making ourselves a better unit and because ultimately that's what society is made up of is better people. And I know the economic stuff. Right now I'm concentrating on making myself into a better person so that I can the influence that I have on people is better, is to be helpful. I don't really expect anything. I'm hopeful that Trump stops some things. It would be nice if he stopped killing foreigners. It would be nice if he broke the stranglehold that Washington D.C. has on some things. But I'm not really too optimistic it's going to happen. So I'm not investing any great amount of emotional weight in what Trump does. I'm mostly interested in making myself a better person, a braver person, a more honest person, and a more consistent person. Because ultimately, the state's going to break up, and what it's going to come down to is and it's going to be ugly when it does it. And when it's going to come down to is the sort of people who live in your neighborhood, and that's going to determine what shape society takes after that.
If you want to change the world, start with yourself.
Yeah.
I had a question for you. Did you read any news this morning?
No, I slept in.
I just heard on the hour that Trump signed some executive order on Obamacare, and I didn't hear any.
Oh, he was encouraging the bureaucracy to mitigate its damages and its negative impacts on people.
Oh.
And it's like, who knows what that'll do, but you can hope.
Who even knows what that means?
Right. Well, he's asking the bureaucracy, which its livelihood is those negative aspects.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
It's, dear guillotine, stop taking off people's heads. No, that's what the guillotine does. And that's what's so interesting, right? Is you have the humanitarian with the guillotine. The lefties set up this guillotine, and it's gonna create peace and happiness. And then the righties go, oh my gosh, a guillotine! It's chopping off people's heads. We just need to get hold of it. It's like, no, wait a minute. No, you don't need to get hold of it. The guillotine was wrong.
Right.
The
Disassemble it.
guillotine was wrong. It cannot be used for good. So it needs to be dismantled.
Dear Satan, could you stop being evil for a while?
Yeah.
No, it's his nature.
Yeah, and this comes down to not we raise our boys, we break our boys in the public schools. We literally crush them.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was it C.S. Lewis said, we raise he said something about we raise our boys to be these little wimps, and we complain that our men don't have chests. And that's a rough paraphrase.
Yeah.
And
yep.
So don't let the state raise your kids. But more importantly, learn what your kids need. Don't just raise them yourself as if you were the state. Because that doesn't really fix a whole lot.
Right.
So
anyway. Hey, I don't know if you saw, the Mises Institute is going to have a get-together at Lake Jackson at Ron Paul's place.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah, in April. I think we should go.
In April, huh?
Yeah, we get to meet. We would get to meet the whole gang. I know you're buddies with all of them, and first name basis, but you could introduce me to all of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we should do that.
I guess from what Adam Dick actually called and told me about it, and he said that they're trying to put something together for the Ron Paul Institute, so they'd have the Mises thing, whatever, Saturday or something, and then have Ron Paul Institute thing the next day.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Wouldn't it? That would be...
We need to have an Alaska delegation.
Yes. Well, what better way if we sent the Alaska delegation down there to convince them to come here?
To move.
Yes.
We need them to move the Institute.
Exactly. Oh, man. Well, Adam Dick actually does want to move. He is fascinated with Alaska. Man.
And that's not a bad thing to be.
No. And I also talked with Scott Horton, and
oh, good.
He lives in Texas.
In Austin, I think.
Yeah, he said he would more than likely be there also.
Oh, cool. He lives in the belly of the beast. Austin is kind of the...
Yeah.
Well, wherever the state government is, that's where all the parasites who suck off the body politic have to be also.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm planning on having him on again here, probably the 1st of February. I want to give him a chance to. I want to give Trump a chance to do some things and then talk to him about it.
Yeah. He's got to do something so that we can evaluate it.
Yeah.
Because we can't. That is so insane, though. The left is like making sure that Trump is completely scandal-proof.
Mm-hmm.
It's just insane. He's going to actually do some bad stuff, and at that point, you might want to have some shred of credibility left.
Right.
No, man, golden showers. Hoo-hoo.
I know. They're just the unintended consequences.
I
That's
know.
exactly what they're doing.
They're just nuts.
What did you think of Manning getting his sentence communicated?
He should have gotten a pardon instead of a sentence. But hey,
right.
the kid's been. He's not a kid anymore, but the kid's been tormented enough.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Do you think that? What's his name with WikiLeaks? Assange. He said that he would actually come to America to face whatever if they communicated his sentence?
No, I think it was if they pardoned him.
Oh, if they pardoned him, good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
That's
I
my
about pulled my
understanding
hair
anyway.
out. I was like, "What are you? No, don't do it! Don't do it!"
And actually, in that way, Obama may have done something good by commuting his sentence. Assange didn't have to come back. And
right.
frankly, I don't want Assange back. That's He's our one way of finding out what these people are actually doing.
Absolutely, he's
so
done no
Obama
good.
may have been really smart. In which case, I'm going to have to give him credit, which may just be a punch in the gut. But I gave him credit for the Iran deal and not attacking Iran. So I guess hey, maybe this is actually not so bad.
No, credit where credit is due. You're absolutely right. Especially with the Iran deal, I thought was huge. It was
one of the less bad things that got done in the 8 years.
Yeah, and it's the one thing that Trump says he's going to rip up right away. Which is
I know, man, makes me sick.
And now I've been worried a little bit. I mean, not worried as in I'm staying up at night, but Trump wants to send a good message that America's strong, and we have North Korea going to launch their ballistic missiles and all this and that. I don't know. It's just
the one thing to hope Nixon could go to China.
Yeah.
That's my hope with Trump, is he'll be able to bluster enough, and then because he's so blustery, he'll be able to de-escalate.
Yeah.
Right? And Clinton never could have, because she would have been fighting the facade, or she would have been fighting the weak girl thing
right.
for her entire life, and plus she was just an inveterate warmonger.
Yep.
So even the optics on it would have looked bad. But Trump can be, we're big tough America. By the way, we're not interested in having a fight with you because we're big tough America and we know we're big enough.
That's right.
And so that's my hope.
Yeah, me too.
And but I don't, I'm not going to. I'll be happy if that happens, but I won't be surprised if it doesn't.
I think he's at the his first speech or whatever stop or whatever is supposed to be with the CIA today.
Yeah, that was happening, is my understanding.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the deep state is really interesting. They actually do rule the world pretty much.
Yep.
And the whole idea of stopping means a whole lot of them are going to become less important.
And folks like that don't usually like to go out without a fight.
No. Anyway.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Take
Appreciate
care.
Bye. Bye. And we got another. Nope, they hung up. Cool. Yeah. Some of the things that Jim was saying at the first was he was talking about the American people have just been so beaten down, and they do see some hope in Trump. And I agree that they were, and I agree that they do see hope in Trump. I don't. And I wish Americans would, again, learn a little economics and learn a little history. And to see that they don't have to have hope in a president. They don't have to have hope in a politician. Ultimately, their hope should be in God. But they can have their hope in their individualism. They can have hope in their neighbor. They can have, pull yourself out without, think 230 years ago, people didn't even care that there was a president. When you were moving west, you might not even know who the president was for years. And most of them didn't care because he had such little impact in his life. That's what we should want. We should not want the strong man that's going to be the guy that's going to make it all right. It was like Hayek was pointing out. If he can't get what he wants done by ethical means, he's going to be greatly tempted to get what he wants done unethically, immorally. But people, for the most part, fall for the strong man. I mean, our ancestors did not so much. They were strong men. They didn't rely on a strong man to make their lives better. They made their lives better. Granted, they had less government interference, so they were more easily to make their life better on their own without that. But there are still ways to do it now without that intervention. And the biggest thing is not wanting the intervention in the first place. You know, we've talked and read from Etienne de la Boete several times. And he points out that we can do without them. They need us. The government needs you to survive, not the other way around. And we have swallowed the lie that we need the state for us to be preserved. That's totally wrong. The state needs us for itself to preserve. You know, on the IRS building, it says that taxes are the price we pay for civilization. It's totally backwards. You can't have an IRS without a civilization first to tax. So we don't need taxation for civilization. You have to have civilization before you can have taxation. You don't need government to have society or community. Let's put it that way. You don't need government to have community. You need community first in order for there to be government. State. I know I'm intertwining those two words, and what I'm meaning is state, not government. Because you are all your government. There are 330 million governments in America. Self-governments. And whether you like it or not, we all govern ourselves to a certain point every day. When you're not stealing, killing people, or cheating people in business or something, well, that's stealing. You are governing yourself. When you go to the store and you purchase the products that you put in your basket, you are governing yourselves. When you go to bed at night and don't burn your neighbor's house to the ground because he made you mad, you are governing yourselves. And it's not because of the threat of government or the state coming down on you for doing such things. It's because, for the most part, people are mostly moral and ethical. We all know burning your neighbor's house down because he made you mad is wrong. Not because the state said it, just because we kind of know that. Anyway, the number is 907-458-8255. I'm getting pretty excited because tomorrow there will be two fantabulous football games. My family and I will be cheering on the Packers to destroy the Falcons. And then we'll be cheering on the Patriots to utterly demolish the Steelers. Oh, yeah. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, by golly, I just heard you talking about the fact that people govern themselves.
Well, they should.
No, there's no should about it.
No,
it
they
is
do.
Absolute.
Yep.
You do. You can't get away from it. So my question to you is, what form of government is it?
When you govern self-government, you mean?
When you when you govern yourself, what form of government do you use? It has a form. Hey, I'll let you think on that. I got to get out of here. Bye.
Oh, well, shoot. Okay. Oh, snap. I got to think on it? Self-government. What sort of government do you use? Goodness, I guess so many people could have a lot of different ideas on that. It's definitely not socialism. Hello, caller. You're up.
It's anarchy.
Roger that.
and when you have a bureaucracy that doesn't use the due process when they accuse you and shut down your business, that is tyranny. In BLM, they are slavers. Just in case they're practicing slavery in the United States of America, they do not require due process. They can take anybody's living away from them just from their own idea of it. So in any case, self-government is freedom, and anarchy and all this other stuff is tyranny. So just in case that guy wanted to know what that is. And even if you do burn down your neighbor's house for shutting down your business or whatever, that's also governance, self-government. Every decision you make is government of yourself.
Yep.
So to be a good governor, you make yourself the best you can be. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. That call was a little scratchy. I don't know if it was over the air, but it was on my earphones. Let me have another one here. Hey, nope. They hung up too. It's all right. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, wonderful football. Hello, caller, you're up.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, I can't remember. You guys are anarchists, right?
Yes, sir.
And I guess what's the difference between an anarchist and a libertarian in your mind? What separates the two in your opinion?
Nothing. A good libertarian is an anarchist.
Well, no, they can't be the same.
Sure they can. Libertarian anarchism. Okay, libertarians, then libertarian minarchists. How about that? So most libertarians just want the smallest form of government or state as possible. And in that sense, I'm libertarian too. I want the smallest form as possible to ultimately not have it.
Well,
and then we have to differentiate between government and state too.
That seems kind of inconsistent. Like you say you're an anarchist, which is for the abolition.
Oh yeah, I am. Abolition of the state.
And then at the same time you say I'm a libertarian and I want the smallest government possible.
No, I do. Ultimately, to get rid of it. If I could press the red button and get rid of it, bam, that's what I'm going to do. If I could work towards it getting smaller and smaller and smaller till it poof disappears, I'm for that. I mean, if I have a choice between a little tiny government and a ginormous one that's interfering in every day of my life, which one am I going to pick? Of course. Because I don't want to have one at all. So the least amount of one is the best amount of one to ultimately not have one.
So if you had to draw a line in the sand and the sword of Damocles came down, you would be an anarchist.
Yeah. I mean, so let's say this. If I had my druthers, would I rather live under this form of government now or have the form of government that was created in 1789? I would take that one. Now, I'd rather have the one in between the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, which was we had none, no central government.
Right.
But, I would, if I had to choose, I would rather have the small government that we had in 1789 than the one we have in 2016. I don't see any contradiction in that.
I think just about everyone that listens to this station might feel that way. But I mean, the difference between anarchism and libertarianism in their approach to similar goals, but they're not the same. It seems like libertarians think that we can somehow use, the system, quote, to get in there and just put a better person in, like Ron Paul or something, and
Right.
somehow change it. And I think I've called in before, and we've kind of agreed that Ron Paul is proof that you cannot do that.
Right.
And so the idea that we can, infiltrate the mafia. Well, okay, sorry. I apologize to the mafia.
Absolutely.
The mafia is nowhere near as bad as stealing our money on a national scale and indoctrinating our kids. But
I agree with you. I don't think I am not for any political means. I don't think you can get in the belly that I'm going to change it from the inside. No, you're not.
Well, I mean, so doesn't that therefore make you just a straight up anarchist?
Yes, I am a straight up anarchist. I am for the abolition of the state. But I know guys like Lou Rockwell, who I know is an anarchist, also calls himself or talks about libertarianism. And even Murray Rothbard, who was the one that came up with the term anarcho-capitalist, spoke about libertarianism a lot. But yes, okay, I won't argue with you. I'm an anarchist.
Okay.
I do not want any form of state whatsoever. Abolish it. Abolitionist.
All right, good. Well, that's great. So we should abolish the state and not try and shrink it.
No. When I say if it did shrink, I would much rather have that. I would be cheering it on as it shrunk. But ultimately, to push the button to abolish it, I'm a state abolitionist.
Right. Yeah, me too. So isn't it kind of a waste of time then to associate or align ourselves with libertarians since they prefer a more political means?
Libertarians that do, yes. I mean, I much prefer the anarchists. I mean, I do appreciate a lot of them that are what we call them, the menarchist types that preach Austrian economics, because I think they do good. And, also there's look at Ron Paul for a quick instance. He probably created more anarchists than libertarians. Or a lot of libertarians he made into anarchists. We just looked at him.
I don't know. He did receive a lot of campaign donations.
Yeah, he did. I know.
So, I mean, and I hear you speak very highly of Ron Paul, and whenever I think of libertarians now that I've seen just how unsuccessful they've been, I kind of find myself despising them a little bit more and more because it seems like the opposite of what their intentions are true.
Well, yeah, especially look at their last person that they picked to be the Libertarian Party pick. I mean, come on, what a joke. Gary Johnson and Weld or what. Yeah, I have no thanks. I don't want nothing to do with them at all. Nothing to do with that bunch. But still, I guess the reason I use the word sometimes because I do know guys that are anarchists that talk about libertarianism.
Right. I mean, they're probably our closest cousin, I guess, or something.
Absolutely.
But still, I mean, the fact that, they keep saying the same things. We need to, reduce the size of the state, and the whole time the state just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they have yet to, it doesn't seem like, they seem to be making a very large movement, or they don't seem to be having the kind of impact that they ought to have since, they have these values. It seems like
I think it's because they always water their values down. I mean, we've had more success just being plain and simple. People hated us for quite a while. Like, what do you mean? You don't want any state at all? Yep, that's right. But it's brought in a lot of good conversation. And I think a lot of people that used to listen to us that were big statists are kind of turning into libertarians now. And then, that's just one small step to being an anarchist.
Yeah.
The libertarians are closer than Republicans are to us.
Yeah. That's, I guess I just look at their failure. They're just, general failure.
The political failure, especially.
Yeah. And it just kind of makes me sick. I'm just like, really? You guys are going to keep doing this? You're going to keep sucking up money from, religious sects to try and accomplish your quote goals, and yet nothing changes, and
Yep.
you don't have any real wind in your sails. It seems even though you have this guy that seems really great, Ron Paul. It's just I'm sick of it. I mean,
Well,
like
they
at
couldn't
what point
even they couldn't even support him because they thought he was too crazy. Well, he'll want to do too much at once. Like, come on.
right? I mean, it's yeah.
No, I'm with you, man. Total abolition.
Okay.
Immediately. If I could press the button, bam.
I mean, that doesn't mean that we should pass up the opportunity to hit a button that will make it smaller. I understand that,
Right.
but
That's all I'm saying.
right.
Let's just say Trump would get rid of income tax at 10% tomorrow, I would support it. I'd be like, okay. I would love it. I mean, I wouldn't. Doesn't mean I support him. I would just be happier not to get stolen from. Yeah, let me keep more of my money. Okay, I won't argue with that. But at the same time, we have to remind people. But it's still 10%, and they're still stealing 10%, and it's not right for them to steal one penny.
Stealing is wrong.
Right.
And that's the thing that we need to keep hammering is the moral argument, I think, because that's how we got rid of slavery.
Yep.
Or quote, really.
Well, Britain did.
We
how
Britain
got
rid of one slavery, and then we got, we acquired another.
Right.
Or, So anyway, but, that's what they did. They just kept hammering the moral argument. Wrong to own people. And so that's what we have now. The government owns us.
Yep.
And so we just need to keep saying the same thing. Owning people is wrong. And
no, you're absolutely right.
And people don't get that because they don't think that. They think there's some benevolence at work or there's, some kind of voluntarism. I voluntarily pay my taxes.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Try not.
It's, don't do it for a while. But, anyway. All right. I was just trying to clarify that.
No problem. I'm sorry if it was misunderstood.
Yeah, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on maybe libertarianism, and maybe you guys can take a look at it a little bit closer, and talk about the failures of the libertarian quote party.
Oh, I would.
It's
love
just
to.
I hear you guys talk. It's all kind of sunshine and rainbows sometimes about libertarians, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't quite agree. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think we should take a close look at why libertarianism failed and why we should therefore embrace anarchism, just the absolute abolition of the state, and not, it seems like more focus is given to libertarianism than pure anarchism because we haven't had it.
A lot of times, though, too, you have to think about, like my position. I'm on a radio show that have liberals and conservatives that listen. And like if I just talk about abolishing the state, you and I are going to agree wholeheartedly. But if I can try to throw the line out there, way far out, I can drag people towards that. I mean, I guess it's not an excuse. I'm just trying to say some of it I want people to understand. Or if you just say abolish the state, they'll just turn the radio off. If you give reasons why, you know what I'm saying? If you give logical reasons why this is this way, and eventually, if you can get someone to agree with you that a state that has no power is good, then it's going to be a lot easier to say, well, why have it? If it's not doing anything anyways, why have it?
Right.
Then ultimately they're going to have a moral conundrum where they have to decide, well, do I believe, because there's no such thing as a minimal state. It's either a state or it's not. If it has the power, then if it has the power to tax, it's still stealing. Doesn't matter if it's 1% or 50%.
I guess the question we need to ask our statist friends is, what are you willing to steal money from other people for?
Yeah. Well, have you ever read or heard Rothbard's "Do You Hate the State"?
Yeah, I think you guys played it once, and I heard it.
Yeah.
And he talks about how libertarians, have this kind of seething hatred for the state, whereas, I guess minarchists don't.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But
well, and he was also saying though, where there's the libertarians that push really hard to get taxation down to, like, I think he says 15% or 10%, whatever. He said, okay, that's fine. Support them on that. That's not bad to support that to get shrunk down to 10%. At the same time, reminding everyone taxation's theft. Or, we should support the guy that's trying to get government down to nothing, but at the same time ready to push the red button that totally obliterates the state.
Yeah, I guess I just don't understand, why the dilly-daddle, in the middle.
Yeah.
Why even just mess with that stuff? It's a distraction to the main big point.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you're afraid to say that stuff to these statists, maybe you should be a libertarian.
Oh, I'm not. I've been on here for 6 years telling I want to get rid of the state.
I know. But do you see what I mean? It's like, I
hear you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll let you go.
All right, man. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
It's good to know there's other anarchists out there. Hello, caller. You're up.
Howdy. This is Lance Roberts. I heard
Lance.
tell me you guys were talking about ordinances and might want some input on what was going on.
Yeah, a caller called us in and said he listened to you on, is it KJMP? KJMP, and you were talking about a property ordinance. I think that's is something with where people can call you in.
Sure. You want me to go over it?
Yes, please.
So there's been three things, two that have happened, one is about to, in the last few months here. So last month they voted on an ordinance that would, for the complaint part of zoning, would allow anonymous complaints and would allow complaints from somebody who don't have standing, don't have a special interest. In other words, people who aren't neighbors. And so now people can go all over the borough and can anonymously complain about people. And so they've kind of weaponized zoning.
Zoning. This is just, wow.
Right.
Now that has passed, or that's something coming up?
No, that's already passed. That was part of a complaint process, was part of what Natalie Howard put in when she did a lot of zoning work. And to where people had to have standing, and then they had to actually, in their complaint, say why what this person was doing on his property was affecting them.
Right.
And you couldn't be anonymous. And so that really cut down on the complaints, which, by the way, didn't matter anyway overall, because they haven't enforced a complaint in 40 years. But they would at least investigate them, and they do passive enforcement where they send letters to people. They just don't go beyond that. Now, the next step beyond that ordinance that just passed, allowing the anonymous and long-distance complaints, now they've passed a resolution that asks the administration, as we want more enforcement of our code. Of course, I'm not quoting here, but it's a really simple resolution. And what that goes back to is 30, 40 years ago, they had a junkyard case, and they took the guy all the way through the court system and won. The judge said, you got to clean your place up. The guy didn't. So then they were going to go after him the next step, bring the guns in, and the assembly said, no, we're tired of paying for this. We don't want to go this far. And they stopped the process. So ever since then, there hasn't been a single zoning citation put out for 30 or 40 years. So now what they're doing is they're reversing that decision. They're saying, we do want to go after people. We want to make them an example. And someone specifically said that on the assembly. And so they have asked the administration to, what they say, reasonably enforce all the existing code, which is more than just zoning, but zoning's the biggest part that's attention getting right now. And it really came about, both of these came about because of people who didn't like junkyards driving by them and got upset, and they want the borough to do something about it. So that's what's been happening on the zoning front.
So are they basically asking for some kind of a police power?
No, they don't have a police power, but they have a citation power. So they can issue citations and they can fine you. And if you don't cease or fix the problem at some point, they can take you to court to force you to fix the problem.
Okay.
So on zoning issues, a lot of times that means if it's a house problem, you have to move your house, because that's most of the zoning issues are about where your house is. And if it's a junkyard issue, you'd have to clean up the whole thing, or they would come take you to court, clean it up, and give you a bill.
Wow.
Which they've done before in the city of Fairbanks, did that just a few years ago.
Yep.
So that's what's been happening with zoning. They've moved the bar on that. Then what's coming up this Thursday is the vote on a new animal cruelty statute, which they had a little one on the books, and they haven't been citing anybody on it. But now they're going to, because of these dogs shot in Gulfstream, which I'll get into that in a second, weren't.
We got a minute left.
Oh, sorry. So they're bringing forth an animal cruelty ordinance. Some of the restrictions say, hey, you got to adequately shelter and give veterinary care. So does that mean that if your vet says it costs $3,000 to do an operation, that you're going to be forced to do it because we've got this law that says it's cruel if you don't do the surgery? And who defines adequate shelter for these animals? So
that's coming up.
It also doesn't give any protection in there for mushers against animal rights groups who might want to use the ordinance against them. There's a lot of problems.
Wow. And that's coming up this Thursday?
Yeah, this Thursday night after 7, they're having public hearing on it. You can send an email or show up and say something.
All right. All righty, sir. Well, we're out of time, but I appreciate you calling in. And I wish I would have got to you a little bit sooner so we'd hear some more about it, but maybe next week.
Okay,
All
thanks.
right. Thank you, Lance. Appreciate you. Okay, bye. All right, folks, that does it. Sorry for the rest of the callers there, but that's how it goes. You got to call in right away. There's something else I didn't get to, and it has something to do with OCS. There's some kind of meeting going on. I can't remember the details, so I'm going to put that on the website, patriotslament.blogspot.com. Basically, it's something that Tammy Wilson was doing where you could come and testify against OCS. That is important. This is Patriot Lament on 660 KFAR. My name is Josh Bennett. Go to the blog. I'll have that on there. patriotslament.blogspot.com, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much for the participation.